Ladies, what is going on with your money? Do you know how much is in your bank account? Or are you too afraid to look? Is your career on a good trajectory? Or is there a big question mark on your resume where a great job should be, but you're feeling burnt out or underpaid or hopeless? How about you and your spouse? Can you guys talk about money? Or are you walking around on eggshells and you think, man, being on the same page with money is a pipe dream? I have been there and I have walked in your shoes. And as I counsel people in the areas of money, I have seen that women specifically faced a whole host of extra challenges when it comes to money. And I'm on a mission to tackle them. Hi, I'm Katie Heyer, and welcome to the Katie Heyer Show. I am going to be your guide so you can be the hero of your money as we learn and grow in all the areas money touch. Personal finances, careers, relationships. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to have a ton of fun. Think of me as your metaphorical big sister. Doesn't matter how old or young you are, you can lean on me for help. You see, in 2020, my husband Dave and I finished paying off $154,000 of student loans. It took years of hard work, a lot of stumbling along the way, and learning about ourselves and our careers, plus bringing 4 babies into the world. The good news is, if we can, you certainly can. So we're going to take a deep dive into our story, from the humiliating things, to the things that did not work, to the things that did work, to the things that helped us finally throw off the shame of money, and finally win in personal finance. But more about our story later in the episode and in the show. In this first season, I'm going to equip you with the plan that helped us go from broke as a joke to having financial peace. Doesn't ending the paycheck to paycheck cycle just make you think about breathing easy? I'm going to teach you the baby steps. 7, that's it, just 7 simple steps you can absolutely take, that will help you along your financial journey. These were created by America's financial guru, Dave Ramsey, and they are what helped us to become debt-free and more. Along the way, we're going to talk about secrets in the Bible, including, surprisingly enough, found in the Proverbs 31 scripture that is going to help you better manage your money, career, and relationships. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to give you the honest truth about what went wrong for us and how we finally did manage to become debt-free and are now working on retirement, college for our kids, and how we and you can be more and more generous each and every day. Finally, I want to knock out some of the myths that you, and probably some of your sisters and some of the people around you believe about money, and replace those myths with timeless truths that will make all the difference for you and those around you. Plus, in every single episode, I am going to give you at least one thing you can do today to improve. And in every episode, I'm going to give you hope so that you can believe that you can win with money, because it's the truth. For example, I've had the honor of walking with couples who did get on the same page with money. I've helped single moms get out of debt and get out of their parents' house and save up an emergency fund and make a plan for themselves and their kids that wasn't contingent on the child support that may or may not ever appear. I've helped gig workers figure out how to create a nice, juicy emergency fund to help cushion the difficulties that come with their feast and famine lifestyle. I've helped people making $25,000 a year, and I have helped doctors making $250,000 a year. It does not matter how much you make. It matters how well you manage what you do have. I've seen it firsthand in my own family, and I've seen it year after year as a volunteer, as a financial coach, as a speaker, so I know you can do this. If you track with me, you will end up more confident, with less stress, and more money. If you don't make the decision to change right now to do something good for your finances, like listening to the show, you're at risk for going to work for the biggest part of your life for what in the end? $393 of average monthly student loan payments? That's average. Creditors calling you at work? We've borrowed at an all-time high as Americans on credit cards. Do you want to keep that car note forever? Car notes go to 84 months now. That's longer than some pets live. I gotta stop right here. My husband told me to put in this funny story, so here is his dad joke. Get a goldfish, not a new car. Kids will be equally interested, and it will last as long as the payments would, to boot. It's the same, but the new car goes down the toilet first. Dave thought that dad joke was hilarious, and he asked me to share it with you, so there you go, babe. Everybody heard your dad joke, and everybody loved it. Back to the show. Do you want to keep living your life walking around on eggshells whenever you ask your spouse about a bill? Do you want your kids to live in your basement forever? That is not what God has for us. That is not what God has for you. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans for a hope and a future." So make a change today. Subscribe and listen. This is one good thing to do. I have 21 episodes planned, one for every workday of the month so you can listen easy on your commute, one for the 21 days it takes to change a habit, and one for each of the Proverbs, one for each of the verses in the Proverbs 31 woman scriptures. By the way, my pastor Chris of our city church in California says you do not have to believe to belong. And that's true here. If you are not a Christian, this show is still for you. Yeah, I'm going to drop some scripture, but I am not going to bash you over the head with the Bible. That's my real self, the same self here as offline, and it's the only self I can be. Speaking of my real self, I am going to be gut-wrenchingly honest. So much so you might be a little queasy. This is real stuff, folks. Now, why the Proverbs 31 woman as my muse for the show? I definitely grew up thinking of her as this perfect 50s homemaker. She's beautifully coiffed. She's got this gorgeous handmade apron, and she's making biscuits from scratch every day. And I did not like the Proverbs 31 woman because I am not what you would call a good homemaker. In fact, if you saw the mess my house was in, you'd call the authorities. But fear not. This is not a show about tidiness. This is a show about money. We all have our weaknesses. So the Proverbs 31 woman, I did not like the stereotypical image and understanding of her, but I reread it during our debt-free journey. And as you will soon see, she is a rock star with money. She has employees she does a great job with. She has businesses. She buys real estate. She's an investor. She sees a profit and sees that it is good, as the scripture says. Essentially, she is a rock star with money. And like I said previously, I am really interested in the specific challenges women face. And I actually did a study looking at a bunch of different translations of the Proverbs 31 woman as I was preparing for the show. And sometimes in Proverbs 31, this part of the scripture starts out with, who can find a virtuous wife? Sometimes it says, who can find a virtuous woman? So woman and wife are used in different translations. So I think this goes for singles as well as marrieds. And the virtuous part, who can find a virtuous wife, that part changes. Some of the other translations say, who can find a worthy woman, excellent, spiritual, capable, intelligent, truly good, noble, and valiant. But what does valiant mean? I forget. I better look it up. Look it up. Courageous, brave, intrepid, fearless, heroic, and plucky. Who wants to be a hero? A plucky hero? I do. I bet you do too. She's a rock star with money. She's good at relationships. She's great in her career. I think she's someone we need to listen to when it comes to what is the wisdom we need to manage our money well. And since this is the beginning of the year, money is on everyone's minds. So she is the perfect way to start the show. So let's check out what that proverb is. Proverbs 31:10. A worthy woman who can find, for her value is far above rubies. Anytime you hear that clap, stomp, logo intro, you will know we're about to talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, because I want to reorient your mind to think awesome when you hear her, not kitchen like I did. A virtuous woman who can find, her worth is far above rubies. We're going to dive into it more as the show progresses. She's a rock star with money. Everyone's thinking about money in the new year. And so everyone's talking about New Year's resolutions. So welcome to January 1st, 2021. Did you know that January 1 actually has another name? It's called December 32nd. That's right. There is no external system that says at midnight tonight, all your luck will change. There's no law that says the ticking of the clock determines your fate, out with the old and in with the new. We like to think that. But there's no turning of a calendar page that means all of a sudden you're going to be a fantastic wife, a svelte, fit, gym-going, healthy person, a great partner, a loyal church attender, rich and smart. A clock changing does not mean those things will change. It doesn't happen just because it's 2021, although we are all very glad to be done with 2020. It happens when you decide. You have to decide you're done with feeling like there's nothing left after all the bills. You have to decide you are tired of having these fights with your spouse over and over and over again. You have to decide to change. And then you actually have to do the hard work of changing. How do we do that anyway? Well, in Romans, that's a book in the Bible, in the Old Testament, chapter 12, verse 2, it says, in the King James Version, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is the good and acceptable and the perfect will of God." Okay, wait, so what does that mean? It means in 2021, your money won't treat you differently than 2020 unless you treat it differently. Let me say that again. In 2021, your money won't treat you differently than 2020 unless you treat it differently. 2020 was a wake-up call for so many of us that what we were doing wasn't working. Some of you may have realized this debt really is a millstone around the neck. Not having a shred of savings does not a good plan make. Having no side hustles, no diversity of income, leaves us exposed when our hours get cut back, or we take a pay cut, or our client work dries up, or we get laid off. Romans tells us we cannot be conformed to this world. Because why would we? The world is full of car payments that live longer than our pets. Remember the dad joke. Credit cards ensnare people with their have it all and have it now traps. It's a trap. And don't get me started on student loans, but I will, because that's my thing. The average payment is nearly $400 at $393 a month. By the way, that's for people who graduated and people who dropped out. It doesn't matter if you actually got the degree, you still owe the loan. And holy moly, are people depressed with what they owe? The anxiety, the mental illness from money stress is very real. And I know how that all feels. My husband and I met at Florida State University in Tallahassee. We got married in college. 3 months after I graduated, we had our first baby. And it was always my dream to live abroad. So my husband loved me. So I loved France. So the three of us, our little baby, my husband and I, we moved to France. We moved to Paris, where I pursued my master's degree. Except for we didn't have a plan. We didn't have savings. We didn't have what we needed to do this the right way. Essentially, we were living for ourselves without a plan. So after the master's degree ended, we moved back to the States. Did I mention we had quit our jobs? We had no savings, and we sold everything we owned to make the trip to France? We had nothing. And one day we were discussing, well, maybe we should get organized. Maybe we should kind of sort of see what we kind of sort of maybe kind of bought and borrowed and owe, and let's just clean that up. I'm sure it'll take us a couple months and then back to life. So I looked through all the receipts. He got me all of the statements. We logged into all the different platforms to try to figure out how much did we owe. And I totaled everything up, and we owed $40,000. But I only made $35,000. And we had a baby with daycare to pay. And he said, that can't be right. I thought he thought I had counted something twice. I thought maybe we owed $25,000. And he said, no, you didn't count something twice. You forgot to include all these other things. Oh my gosh. So I went back and I totaled everything up again. And oh my Lord, $77,000? We owe $77,000? I could feel just the, I couldn't breathe. And he said, that cannot be right. I thought, wait a minute. Am I going to do this again? His instinct was correct. I had not counted everything up. When we did finally end up finding our total, we owed $154,000. He worked at Starbucks and Apple, and I worked for the state. And we had a baby and one on the way. We were crushed. I went to bed that night, tears streaming down my face. I drenched my pillow. I had no clue what we were going to do. That fear that we felt, people share it every day today. You might be feeling that today. That's why I'm doing this show, so I can help empower and encourage you. So I can help tell you what we did so you can use that and win in your life. I mean, did you know that the second cause people cite as the reason they divorced behind adultery is money fights? I mean, how sad is that? Your best friend, your favorite person in the world, you two can't get along because of money stress and money fights. That is so sad to me. I mean, I get it. I've been there. That's what makes it more heartbreaking. 8 out of the 10 families on your street live paycheck to paycheck. If they miss a Friday, it's a crisis. So don't conform to this world. It's not worth it. So how do we transform ourselves? We have to renew our minds, get rid of the bad, replace it with the good. For example, Joyce Meyer calls it stinking thinking. I like to call it myths. So here's one of those myths or bad things that we think. We think the year 2020, the economy, my boss, my new job, my bank, that's gonna make the difference. The truth is, you and I are the secret sauce. That's what Dave Ramsey says. You are the secret sauce. The responsibility is on us. In the Tree of Life version of the Bible, it says in Proverbs, if you are wise to your own advantage. But if you scoff, you bear it alone. Here's another myth. But budgets are restrictive and don't work just like diets. Yeah, to some people, budgets are a curse word. Another word for budget is game plan or travel itinerary or blueprint. I remind you, it's just a plan. How are you going to execute on your goal? By the way, Jesus loved budgets. Just look in Luke. He says, "For which of you, when building a tower, does not first count the cost so you don't get halfway up and realize you don't have enough to finish and everybody's laughing at you because you have this unfinished tower?" Make a budget. How about this one? I just have to make more money. I just don't make enough. I don't make enough to make ends meet. I don't make enough to pay off my debt. I just don't make enough. Okay, sometimes income is a problem. We'll go into that in another episode. I realized that we couldn't get traction because our income to debt ratio was just ridiculous. But check it out. People live paycheck to paycheck, whether they make $25,000 or $250,000. Lottery winners, they lose it all after a year, 2 years, 3 years max. They've spent it all. We all have heard those stories of NFL players or celebrities saying, "Help, I'm broke." That's because it does not really matter how much you make. It does help to have a higher income. Yeah, I'm not denying that. But the most important thing is how you manage what you do have. How about this one? I'll make a New Year's resolution to pay off all my debts. That's a myth. That's stinking thinking. Here's the truth. New Year's resolutions will fade, just like they did last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. Now, I love the New Year. It's one of my favorite holidays. I love New Year's resolutions, but that can't be all. You can't just make a resolution and hope that it'll work. You cannot be like Michael Scott in The Office, who comes out of his office one day and he says, "I declare bankruptcy." And everyone's looking at him saying, "Michael, you can't just declare it. You have to do something." In the same way with New Year's resolutions, we can't just make a resolution. We have to do something. We have to make a plan and follow it diligently. Proverbs 12:27 says, "Yea, the slothful will not roast his game, but the diligent will get precious wealth." Part of diligently managing your finances is having a vision. Let's get debt free. Let's get our emergency fund. Let's pay off our house. Let's get on the same page. Let's have a dream. Let's pay our kids' college. Let's pay off our parents' house. Having a vision and working toward it. This leads directly into how a New Year's resolution needs to turn into a goal, to turn into an achievement. Your goal has to be smart. Here's the lesson that is tactical for you for today. Smart, as in British. A smart jacket that looks good. No. Smart as in, well, that's a smart goal there. That's academia right there. No. You've probably heard of this, a SMART goal. SMART is an acronym that will help you take something nebulous and turn it into action. The S in SMART, the S is for specific. How do you want to win with money? You can't just say, okay, in 2021, I want to win with money. No, how do you want to do that? Do you want to figure out how to negotiate a salary raise? Do you want to have a shared dream with your spouse? Do you want to get out of debt so you can be generous? Those are specific. All those things I mentioned are money goals. They can be about relationships, career, your actual finances. Specific, you have to actually narrow in on what it is. And it has to be measurable. That's the M. M for measurable. How much of a salary bump do you want to propose? How often do you want to talk about dreams with your spouse? How much debt do you actually owe? Got to figure these things out. You got to be able to measure your goal. A is for attainable. Can you actually achieve this? Because if you're asking to triple your salary and you don't have the skills, Is that actually attainable? Or did your company just downsize and they're running out of clients and you maybe need to pivot industries? Is it actually attainable? Just be realistic. Or what about the shared dream with your spouse goal? Do you probably need to seek some counseling before you are going to be able to talk about money with your spouse again? Make sure the goal is attainable. And the last example was about money and paying off debt specifically. Do you owe $400K and you make $40,000 a year? I think it's going to be really hard to do that in 1 year. So think realistically about what is attainable. Certainly, stretch yourself, but don't set yourself up for failure. R is for irrelevant. Is it your goal? Or do you want your sister to finally ask for that salary raise or that pay bump or that promotion? Is it your shared vision you want with your spouse, or do you just want your husband to agree with you? Is it your debt you're trying to pay off, or are you just making a plan for your son to pay off his debt? Has to be relevant to you. Otherwise, it's not your goal. And then the T is for time bound. By when are you going to have that conversation with your boss about your salary expectations? When are you going to actually schedule the time for you and your spouse to have that dream meeting, that vision meeting with no kids, with no social media, and no TV? When are you actually going to do it? And when are you going to have all that debt paid off? By when? Once you have the date, you can back into it what you need to do this year. Okay, let's divide that up by month. What do I need to do by month? Okay, what am I going to have to do each week? And then you can see, okay, well, this is what I need to do each day to incrementally make progress on my goal. So what money goal do you have? You have to write down the vision and make it plain. In fact, I'd love to hear what yours is. Why don't you tag me on social media? I'm on Instagram, hey, Katie Heyer, or email katieheyershow@gmail.com. I'd love to hear what your vision is, what your goal is for 2021. Write it down and make it plain. That's from Habakkuk 2:2, and it's good advice for Bible believers and heathens alike. Write down your goal, make it plain, work it into a plan. So how do you actually turn your money goal, your specific money goal, into a actionable plan? I'm going to encourage you to use that B word that we talked about earlier, the budget. The budgeting software that we use is called EveryDollar, and the components are very simple. On the far left, when you log in on your phone app or on the computer, on the far left, you have your money that you make in your income section. Then beneath it, you have giving. Beneath that, you have savings. And then every other line item is how you plan to spend your money that month for every last dollar. The right side of the screen, you'll see a little circle that has the name of the type of budget category it is, like giving or savings or housing or transportation. The right side just shows you how your budget breaks down, so that once you make your budget, your cash flow plan, your roadmap, your money blueprint, whatever you want to call it, you can see, wow, okay, we're spending 40% of our money on food. Might need to adjust that so we can pay off that $400K of student loans. It's very simple. EveryDollar is the best budgeting app I have found. It is free to use. We use the paid version because when you use the paid version, it connects to your bank. Banks charge for different apps to access their data, so EveryDollar charges you. You don't have to do the paid one, you can do the free one. EveryDollar is called EveryDollar because the key to a smart budget plan is to make sure every single dollar that you earn has a name. And so anytime you are working in the EveryDollar app, at the very top, if you're on the desktop, or in a circle at the bottom if you're on an app, will tell you how much you have left to budget or how much you are over budget, and you can edit from there. It is super simple. It is wonderfully elegant and easy to use, and this is what I would recommend you checking out so that you can turn your goals into actionable money achievements. But that's all a budget is. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be scary. But parts of money are scary, aren't they? I mean, when you do finally total up all your bills or see that you're behind on retirement, that can be scary. It can be terrifying. Christy Wright says, the antidote to fear is taking action. That brings me to our next segment, our tribe question. The question for today is from Shannon, and she says, we have $300,000 in student loans. My notes are terrible. We have $300,000 of debt. Katie, can we ever pay it all off? Shannon, of course you can. Absolutely you can. I see it every day. People getting on the same page with their spouse and working together. People finding the hope to move forward. But when you're facing a vast sum, or maybe you're in the second half of your career and you feel like you are so behind on retirement. Maybe you are behind on retirement and you have a long way to go before you're ready to retire. Don't think about the full thing. Don't think about the $1 million you need to retire. Don't think about the $300,000 you have to pay off. Think about the one little bitty thing you can pay off or you can save today. You can pay off that $35 late medical bill. Boom, one's gone. You can put $400 in your retirement account this month. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I can hear my dogs barking at somebody. Come here, Lunar. Come here, Soleil. They're going to be in the show. They are my debt-free dogs. Come here, doggies. How do you start a journey of 1,000 miles? Go. One step at a time. So yes, Shannon, you can absolutely do it. That's it for episode 1. Dogs have said it. It's over. This has been so fun, you guys. So ladies, what is going on with your money? You are a hero to me, and I can't wait until you call me to tell me you are a rock star with money. Until then, I am here to help guide you. So hop on over to my website, katieheyer.com, and subscribe to the mailing list so you can get updates every time a new episode drops. Every episode is going to have hope, encouragement, honest stories from our experience, and tactics so you can be a rock star at money too. See you next time.